Unfortunately, I didn't get to, oh my gosh, that's gonna bother me. Whatever. I didn't get to put a video out there for March. I was like sick almost what felt like the whole month of March. I'm Teresa de Jesus Aispuro. This is the Nobody Asked podcast, and this is episode 3. I got fired, let go, there was a separation, whatever you want to label that as. I got let go. I literally was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have that much to say, and then I started like ranting, and I just want to like get it out there because I've kind of wanted to just be like, okay, whatever, like let me forget it, but I can't because I had to prepare this and now I'm talking about it. So starting off, I wanted to open up about this because I know I'm not the only one that is currently going through or has gone through unemployment or a hardship or a tough season. Something like being let go or any other financial inconvenience or like a hardship or a tough season is a topic I know I was nervous to talk about. And even right now, I'm like, no, like, I know that I want to talk about it. A part of me is still kind of like, ¿qué va a decir la gente? But whatever. Because I'm not only just putting it out there for myself, it's for whoever obviously views this, the public, the internet. It is what it is. I feel like younger me may have felt better and inspired if I had someone similar share their experience on being fired or unemployed or going through it like how I was back then. I'm pretty sure there might have been videos, but they weren't popping up on my thing and I honestly wasn't like looking for them. But it is what it is. So hopefully this falls to whoever it has to be seen by, maybe needs it, maybe is gonna need it, and then you can look back at this video and be like, she right, that's relatable. I hope this conversation comforts you if you feel alone right now, because I definitely felt like that. I feel like when hard things happen to us, it's easy to just be like, oh my gosh, like, why is this happening to me? Like, I feel so alone. It's like one thing after another, and that, especially to me or people like me who have struggled with isolating themselves in the past, it's not good, because that's like poking our buttons to just be like, this is why I'm isolated. I hope it reminds you that times like these are part of life and they're temporary, unfortunately to say. I know that when you're going through it, you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that son cosas de la vida and like it's temporary, but it is. Like, and above all, to leave it to God. Act on what you have to do, but know that at the end of the day, it's his will on what's happening, what he allows. And hardships like these helps us give testimonies, and these tough situations use us to be able to help others. 1 Peter 5:9, resist him, standing firm in the faith, because you know that the family of believers throughout the world is undergoing the same kind of sufferings. So early last month, beginning of March, I was about to say May, I got let go, fired. I'm unemployed, not by choice, whatever. Without giving too much out, it was a difference in work ethic between me and my employer. The expectation and execution of communication, different points of views, and the overall environment. When I noticed this became an uncomfortable situation for myself, I started looking for another job. I didn't expect to be let go suddenly, because it was literally 2 business days later, and I felt like I got the rug swept from underneath me. Like, I don't think that's ever like a call, unless you're very financially comfortable, to be like, you know, or if you're expecting to like when, like in a relationship, when you're like waiting for them to break up with you, like, but that was not the case. Though in that moment, literally signing the paperwork, the lump in my throat, like holding back tears, because I had already cried, mind you, towards the end of this, whatever. It was giving like Samantha leaving Richard's office and he gonna cry in the car. That was me. I am definitely gonna cry in the car. But I did feel like a weight off my shoulders. I felt that I left my anxiousness there. Sorry about it. But like I just felt like it was just kind of like, yeah, like even though in that moment I was like, oh my gosh, like it was just kind of like, okay, this sucks, but it feels good to know that I don't have to push through another day there, not wanting to be there and not knowing how it's going to play out. The feeling of being wrong either way, not even being able to ask for clarification without being talked down to. I personally grew up dealing with avoiding people's bad days or not wanting to add to someone's stress, being a nuisance, walking on eggshells, etc., like that type of energy. And I feel like it made me accept that more towards the end of this employment, because I would kind of be like, okay, well, it's not that bad, because obviously I need a job. I'd be like, okay, I don't 100% of it like hate being there or whatever, right? But it's because I'm just conditioned to that type of energy. So no. And being someone's employee and feeling like that is so unnecessary. No job's worth feeling like, it's not even to like target them like that. But if you're okay with making people feel that way, like, that's cool. And then whether that person feels or interprets that they're doing that or not, it's not okay. And it's not worth putting up with. That leads me to the source of me feeling, I guess, so positive about my current situation. And that's my faith. At the moment, I knew this was not planned, not expected, but I know that I'm going to be okay. I'll figure it out, and I'm going to be able to do that because of God. I literally that day was like, I wasn't as shocked when it finally happened. I wasn't thinking that it was going to be so sudden. But when it happened, it was just kind of in my eyes like, I'm not surprised that you went about things this way. But okay. And then also because of the fact that like I was reassured that just like in the past, he's helped me get through a lot and come out even above that, and he's continued to give me, like, this is just another hardship that I have to, like, in a way endure, go through, and be able to like ride through the waves of stress and anxiousness and not let that consume me. Because it's fair to say, hey, I feel this way, like I'm scared, I'm anxious, I don't know what's gonna happen. But in the time that I am right now with my faith, calm down, things are gonna be okay. And they are. And they will be. So I was already praying about this like I had in the past. That's why I think it took me more by surprise when it happened, because I was like, wait, like I was praying about this. Like I was doing my part about like making sure that I am looking for another job. Like I was doing the steps of, this job no longer suits me, I'm looking for another one, and then move on. It was essentially just me in my head repeating like, oh, like this has happened in the past, like having a job that you hate. So with unemployment or not knowing these next steps, I feel like that's a factor in why I wasn't so like, oh my gosh, because I have been in that situation before. Not with like being let go, but not having a job essentially. Hebrews 11:1-2. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. And I feel like I just, not only in this situation in the last couple months, but like this season and these 2 past years, I even had it back when I would do like my mood board of like, it's not rejection, it's redirection. God's no is sometimes like a not right now. Even before I was getting better at like praying about things and talking to myself about like, hey, like remember your faith, I already had those things pre-carved out on how I wanted to go about changing myself. And in this case, instead of it just being some Pinterest quotes, it's me being even more strengthened with the word. And that's what's helped me, you know? And hopefully that can help you too if you're either getting called back or questioning your situation or your faith. And that's really why I'm not only putting out there my experience and story about being fired and how I'll get into it, but for you to kind of be able to relate, like, because I know in those moments you're kind of like, oh my gosh, like, it's just me, I feel so alone, blah blah blah. And then sometimes you can hear those words and be like, oh, those words reassure that person, and this video is reassuring me. The confidence in what we hope for, assurance about what we don't see. Sometimes when it is your very first time experiencing something, it's called learning, you know? And what I have now is my positivity and my faith, strengthened faith and obedience that I didn't have the last time I was in like a situation like this, that I dreaded and really hoped I didn't want to be in, you know, again, because I was like a really low point in my life. So that'll take us to my past. I'd be lying if I hadn't had my doubts of how I'm gonna get over this, what if I can't find a job, or how that brings me back to a low time in my life. The current situation reminds me that I have empowered my prayer, strengthened my faith, and have grown my connection with the Lord. And I feel like that has really not only acknowledged that what I already believed, which is He always does bless me, He always does have my back, and He always is gonna make things work out, but like not only just being thankful for the blessing once you get it or see it, but like all that you don't see, like how we mentioned of like what you don't see, that process, that test, that trial and tribulation this season right now is part of the blessing. It makes you adore the blessing more when you can say like, no, like I have faith, I'm staying positive, like things are gonna work out. I'm not even gonna stress about the details. Back then, well, we're gonna get into it. So I kind of had to stop myself before I even got to that point, reminiscing how this reminds me of that really low point in my life, how I'm jobless again, how I'm scared again, how I'm anxious again, how I'm stressed again. Like I really had to like drag myself back and be like, you're not gonna jump into that depth anymore because you got out of there. Why are you gonna go back? And I feel like that's really what I can see the difference in. That's the big factor that I didn't have back when I was 19. I really let my fear, anxiety, and doubt consume me, along with the personal issues that I had going on at that time. I didn't rely on God. I didn't rely on my faith. I didn't rely on the word. Like, all that was back burner. Yeah, I really was, like, praying about, like, hey, like, please, 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 please. But I was praying because I was scared. I wasn't praying because I knew that He was going to fix things and because I was, like, faithful. And that's the difference compared to me at 19 to me at almost 27. Almost 27. Growing up, I had moments that would honestly leave me feeling so sad and depressed. And I clearly had a factor when I was 19 going through a hardship kind of by myself. So I would be sad and depressed and all I could do was like cry about it. Crying myself to sleep, to sit and wallow in that type of like darkness is like all I knew. I didn't know about, like, not to say convincing myself, but like I didn't know about like knocking some sense into myself that that's not gonna do anything. Like all I knew at that time was that I finally had my own space where I didn't have to hide the fact that I was crying or that I was emotional and that I was going through it. And that's what let me be able to like let everything out, but letting it out would also consume me into like such a negative attitude and mental space that I never want to go back there again. Ew. I don't know if you felt like this before, but when you hate your life circumstance, setting, etc., not only being sad, but knowing that you're stuck physically and emotionally there. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't ever want to feel in that way. Like, right now, I feel like that's why I was a little, like, when I started catching the signs of this reminds me, like, how I was at 19. Because right now I'm basically checking it like, oh my gosh, I'm in the same physical, which is like, I don't have a job, I'm looking for a job. It's kind of taking longer than I thought. That it was triggering me and reminding me, oh, you also felt emotionally stuck back then. That might be coming up soon. And I never want to feel like that ever again. I feel so bad for like my past self on how like sad she was. And that's just like what she could do with the resources she had. And I feel bad for her, as if her isn't myself, that she felt like that. But in a way, it was true that she had little to no resources. And I had to stop myself current day, presently, to be like, you need to chill. Like, we're not gonna let ourselves get that down bad again. Like, we're not going there. Because that mental state really messes with me. I don't know about y'all, but that mental state really messes with me. And that's what I'm more scared of. I can imagine exactly how I felt mentally and physically back when I was in middle school, back when I was in high school, back when I was like 19. And I want to like rip my skin off of like, I don't ever even want to like think about feeling like that again. Like, no. And I just don't want to go there again. And I'm like referencing what I typed out so I wouldn't be rambling so much. I tend to go on a tangent. I need to like lock myself back in. I wrote, I just know I fear ever feeling like that again. I think I had little to no faith. Like, those were the resources, some of the resources I was talking about, along with the fact that I felt at the time I didn't have anyone that I could run back to. Back then I really felt like I don't have anyone to like come save me or whatever. And things like that don't even matter to me now. But I think that weighed on me even more, along with the fact that I had little to no faith or hope of things getting better. And when you have a community and a support system to be like checking you when you can't check yourself, that's what leads to that like really depressing emotional state, basically. And I feel like I do have that now. Not only because I have a community that is able to lead me in a positive way, because I had friends, but no, like, I'm not talking to my friends about how down bad I am. And now, even though I haven't gotten to that position where I'm like actually needing it like I needed it then, I'm more okay with being like, if I were to need the help, like, I can ask for it. And I think now I also have the community that assists me of like reassuring me in what I believe in, that things are gonna get better. Like, sometimes I feel like you gaslight yourself when you're trying to stay positive. The doubts in your head being like, but is it really gonna get better? Like, there's no winning. You hate yourself when you're being negative, and you hate yourself when you try and see like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, and then you get frustrated and you feel like nothing matters. And I feel like that's really sad. The fact that I didn't have faith or hope or truly believe that things were gonna get better. Like, at a lot of points in my life, I felt like things were never gonna get better. These were the cards I got dealt. This is the life I deserve, I guess. And that's it. Thanks. That small amount of faith that I did have, because I would pray to God. I would be like having my huge ass crying sessions, and then I'd be like and that was because I knew that I did have faith. I did believe that God would get me out of there, that he would bless me, he would lift me up. In John 1:5, it says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. I have that highlighted in my Bible. I'm giving these verses just to kind of give reference on if there's people out there that are going to be like, why are you tying everything to faith? Like, I need support in a realistic way. Like, I kind of feel like someone would say that, because maybe a part of me was like that at 19. Maybe that's why I struggled with my faith, because I didn't have that community that would reassure me when I did have doubts, that I'd be like, no disrespect, but like, I need to pay the bills. And that's something way different than what I think now. So I totally understand if you're thinking that, but I'm giving these verses to be able to kind of tie it in if you do have a little tiny bit of faith, that you are praying and talking to God, because he knows it already, but he wants to talk to you. He wants to hear you. So even if you have that tiniest amount, I hope that these verses are able to like reassure you, and they are relatable, so you can kind of sense, like, essentially be convicted that today you need to go and talk to him about your problem. And it starts there. It starts there. Because I think for me, along with guilt, being sad, and the circumstances, I literally would have, because I finally had my own space to cry, I would cry from day to night about anything and everything. I would just cry. Cry. And obviously it's gonna get harder each day to try and pull yourself out of there. So if you're gonna cry about it, that's totally fine. Talk to him about it and then get back to crying. Because you probably are gonna cry about when you're talking to him, and that's totally fine. Just talk to him. The light shines in the darkness. That light for me, I feel like, is that little bit of faith and me holding on to it. Me wishing and like being optimistic. Matthew 17:20. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Even in those moments, like past me, being like, okay, well, I need to pay the bills. Okay, well, I am broke. You have to be able to have that faith. Just believe in what you want. Even a little bit. Dang, like, just a little bit. Because there's people out there that, and I get it because I was in that mindset. And of course, how you were brought up and what resources or community you have. Sorry if it got dark, by the way. Y'all are just gonna have to suck it up. But I know it's really hard to be positive when you weren't brought up that way. But some of us really like to stay in that negativity. We hate the negativity. That's all we spit. What do you want from me? And maybe that irks me, because a part of me is the type that I will give advice, and if you come to me with excuses, and I'm like, then what is this conversation for? But that's where you gotta be thankful that I'm just me, because God's not gonna talk to you like that. He is literally gonna wait for you. I might not, but I'm still working on myself. Sorry about it. Just don't be stubborn. Like, be open-minded. You need to check yourself in that, because if you can't even take that from someone that's standing in front of you that you can talk to, that you can text, you probably keeping that same energy to God. Like, you're over here telling yourself, like, you're over here having doubt in your faith because you throw down any positivity that comes your way. So don't be sitting here saying that you hate all this negative that's coming in your life. You're kind of attracting it in a way. You need to do some work. Take the first step, and he'll take the second one. You say to this mountain, move from here to there. You need to tell your negativity to move. You need to tell your doubt to move. You need to tell all these bad, like, intentions in your mind of what's gonna happen in your future to move. And guess what? They're gonna move. Because you're telling them to. That's you doing the first step, along with having faith that out to the trash with that. Okay, apologies, because I know that the lighting changed. Literally? Okay, I don't know if the light's gonna be looking weird, because I feel like it is. Because the fan's still moving, so little intermission. It's like the beginning of April. I'm no longer sick, but I think my voice is still a little raspy every once in a while. Also because, you know, like, I think it's literal dehydration. Like, you know when you're crying and your face just feels like really like hinchada or like puffy, and you kind of feel like you like a runny nose or whatever. And yeah, well, that's what happened to me today, so maybe that's why I sound like that. And if my makeup looks cakey, it's because I had to like touch it up again because I was crying. But we chillin'. Oops, not me putting up the volume. I'm gonna hear what I read. What the heck? So I feel like at 19, I had very little faith. I had faith. I believed in God. I, at that time, stopped going to church. Not to say where I was going to church was the community and resources. It's not on them. Like, it wasn't like I stopped going to church, that's why I'm so negative. No. It was the way I was brought up, long-term effect, okay? But growing up, even if I wasn't connected as I am now, that always made me feel better. I always, like, being a kid, literally crying, sometimes crying myself to sleep, what I was going through mentally, emotionally, physically, what, after getting the whole crying session out, what would make me feel better was, like, I couldn't talk to the people around me. I couldn't talk to families. I couldn't talk to family. I had a friend who knew the type of dynamic I came from, and I feel like the kind of dynamic that they had, essentially like strict family household, but we never got to talking about, hey, I literally hate my life and I'm sad. Like, it never got to that point with my friends because of the way that I was brought up, of not asking for help. Not that I'm like, I need help. More of like, hey, I'm not doing good emotionally. I need someone to talk to type of help is what I mean. But it never even got to that point. And I feel like those same friends would see and notice it when I was going through it. And even, we're kids, like, we're literally in middle school or high school. We're not, what I would hope of some of y'all, emotionally mature enough to be like, hey, like, what's going on? I noticed this about you. Talk to me. And being, like, consistent with that, you know, because you really want to help that person. I wasn't like that. Or I feel like we weren't like that, because I know now that I probably should have checked up on certain people too, and I just didn't, because I knew I not hated, but like I knew I cringed when people would do that, because I'm like, it's like that thing when people are like, when you're literally going through it and then someone asks if you're okay. Oh, I'm about to cry for the next hour. Don't ask me that. Don't even look at me. Don't. Because I was so conditioned into, like, I don't let anybody see me cry. Don't do that. And I do a very good job at hiding myself. I don't like being vulnerable. I didn't. I'm talking past tense. And so when someone would question me, one, that's healthy to be able to have those conversations. I didn't grow up like that. When someone would ask me that, it'd be like instant, my face is straight, because and I'm gonna stay silent, because anything that I try and utter, even if I wanted to say anything, nothing's gonna come out, because I'm gonna cry. And I would instantly shut down, like, okay, no, because I'm not doing that. And that's not good. Like, with that being said, sorry, I kind of went into like a tangent. So that's the type of person I was. Mind you, when I would basically like let it all out to myself, the thing at the end of the crying session that would make me feel better was knowing that I know that God sees what's going on. He knows how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. and what I'm literally talking to him about. And at least for that way of how I was taught, I knew that he was listening, and I knew that even if that's what I'm going through right now, like, it's not gonna last. Like, it would literally be like a thing of like, I'm crying, and then it'd be like, okay, like, I know that this isn't forever. Fine, like, I guess. Because it would be like, I guess, like, the Holy Spirit being like, make her feel better. And it would, but because I didn't have the community around me, it wasn't like, I'm freed, like, I'm changed, like, I feel totally better. No, like, that takes work. But in those really hard, dark moments when I needed that, that's when the light would shine. And that would make me feel better. I know now it's a little different. I do have community, I do have people I can talk to, I have people that can very much relate to how I grew up, how I feel, what I'm going through, what I struggle with. Because I went to go look for that by going to church. And we're both relying on the same support system that we can help each other. Did you hear that crack? I always knew as a kid that, this isn't good, when I would be really angry, sad, and resentful, I knew that the only person I had was like God and Jesus. If I don't have anyone, I have God and Jesus. I don't care. And I feel like that really carried into the rest of my life, because that's how I very much felt when I had falling out with friends, when I was going through it alone, when I was crying alone, when I was going through breakups, when I was unfortunately indulging in a very like season of isolation that I put myself in. And I would always just be like, I don't care. It's me, God, and Jesus. I could care less about y'all. I don't feel that way now, but that's the mindset that I had. I don't want to self-diagnose myself and say that I had high-functioning depression, but that's what I can relate it to now from the little that I do know. And I'm not trying to compare people's mental health or depression, but I never had thoughts of, if you get what I mean. But what I can see it now is like being older, like in 2 years, that's about to be 10 years ago. Ew. But I can now see that and be like, oh yeah, she was going through it. She was depressed, if not borderline. So that's when it would hit me that it was equivalent to like deep diving into that consuming sadness, and the pressure of everything that I was going through, what I had been through, would like continue to anchor me down. It wasn't just the fact that I was sad. It was that like, oh, I have high functioning depression and I'm going through a breakup. And I'm going through it with my family. And I'm freaking unemployed. Like, it was like dum, like, and with not being a positive person, being full of resentment, being angry, being hurt, and feeling alone, I don't think those things are gonna help you swim back up to the top. I thought I could rely on my logic and my sola solita mindset, because like how I said, I would indulge in like isolating myself to get me out of that rough patch, and that would leave me feeling frustrated when the solution wouldn't click. I'd be left feeling so lost. Like, why hasn't anyone called me? Why am I still jobless? Why me? Why now? Why again? Why? I can look back at that time of my life and see that God didn't forget about me, even when I felt like I was getting dragged. He blessed me with a support system I needed in those times, and slowly but surely he helped me get back up, as he also had me go through other hardships and continue to heal. When you're given a blessing, not to say that nothing lasts or that everything's temporary, because I don't know that. Like, it depends on what you see the blessing as. But like when you're giving a blessing, don't think that that's not the final castle. Sorry, your purpose is in another castle. Sometimes he gives us these blessings and we think, oh, like you made this happen and that means I'm done, right? Like that means that that's where I'm supposed to be at. That's where I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. And they're there forever, right? No. And that's what happened to me. Like I felt so happy that I was finally like doggy paddling into like better, warmer waters. And because I wasn't focusing myself in things that would actually help me, like focusing on my health, on my mental health, because back then I don't think I acknowledged that I was probably depressed or had high functioning depression, that even when I was doing better, when things would happen to me, I would sink back down. And I think that has a lot to do with your hormones, a lot to do with the way that you grew up, and a lot to do with the fact that I wasn't emotionally mature. I can't just expect that thing to go away. Like, I need to do the work. And I wasn't doing the work. So even though this blessing came, that I call it a blessing, even though it turned into a dodged bullet. But at the time it was a blessing because it was the support system I honestly, truthfully needed at that time and moment. And I thought that that support system was going to be the support system, and it wasn't that. And that's not knowing that, not being aware of, not relying on that blessing. Like, you need to rely on God and your faith and be obedient. I ended up just relying on the blessing, and then, oh, guess what? The Lord giveth and he taketh away. So that's how I continued to go through hardships. And of course it made it easier. Everything that he's allowed me to experience has truthfully taught me a lesson. Just like how that at 19 was rough. It was rough, and what followed was even rougher. I got through it, and that's why, along with the faith and support that I have now and me working on those things, that lesson taught me currently things are going to be okay. Chill out. So those hardships, even though it sucks, they teach us things and will continue to heal us. The process continues. At that time, when I was 19, I wasn't angry at God for what I was going through. Even later down the road, I've never been angry, but I would confuse those trials and experiences as inconveniences. I wasn't seeing them as a lesson. I wasn't seeing them as something that God would use me for, or use those, at the moment, blessings as a lesson down the road. And guess what? I would start to ask why. Why did you put me down here to live like this? I was 19, I had left home, and I thought I was finally free from what had made me feel so miserable. Like, we could talk about my upbringing in a different video, in a different form, on a different topic. But basically, where I had came from. And now I'm struggling. I thought I had just leveled up, and now I'm getting dragged. What's the point of me having to be here? What's the point of me living? I didn't have game over tendencies, but why do you have me living here? I'm not saying I'm gonna go do game over, but why am I living like this? For what? We don't know what our future will be. Our plans don't compare to his, and that took me a lot. Like, when that support system blessing came and then it was taken, I was like, why'd you do all that for then? Not me asking him why, because he wanted to, like, as if. And I still struggle, even a couple months ago, of like, why? For what was the reason of doing that? And guess what? That's none of my business. Like, okay, I didn't really want another filler episode. What the heck? So our plans don't compare to his. we can't follow our own understanding, because sometimes I'd be like, okay, whatever, it happened then, but for why? Or like, why did this? Or did that happen because of this? The world may never know. So I need to learn to shut up. And that's how I check myself. Because I find myself getting irritated. Now I'm mad. Now I'm sad and mad. And now I'm growing a little resentful. Not to God, but the situation or the people it involved. And I'm like, dude, chill. Like, you need to just acknowledge lo que pasó, and you need to move on. And that's what I put in my 25 things I want to do at 25, that I wanted to be able to move on and let go easier. And I feel like this is part of that. Not only breakups, being fired, but the fact that you might not know what the reason of something happening in your life was for. Oh well. Okay, so fast forward to these recent years, I've been asking for things in my prayers like strength, bigger faith, etc. I truly feel like this season's carving me into who I want to be, what I want to be, and it's given me the time to rest, heal, because I was sick, and invest in my channel, scrapbooking, my church classes, being active. Since I was like sick, I didn't get to do that much, but I've been like going to the beach more, taking in the sun and stuff like that. Decompressing, allowing myself in those days that a veces sí me sentía como más agitada, just letting myself be able to like take that time to just chill, not feeling like I have to be productive, but having that limit of like, don't let it consume you, because it's a slippery slope. I'm not gonna act like I'm totally fine now. Like, I catch myself sometimes being like, you're giving 19-year-old energy, get up, because no. Also been able to connect more with God, and compared to like at all in the past, like I feel like I'm really on that path, and I'm really happy about that. I've mentioned to people in my life, I don't think I would have started going to church or furthering my connection in my faith if I wouldn't have let go of a certain job in the past, because it's us acknowledging too, not only is it our internal but our external factors that really obviously affect us. But sometimes it's like, oh well, no, it's about you, it's about how you present yourself, and it's like, no, it's about y'all too. It's about the people you surround yourself with, it's about where you're going, it's about the energy there, it's about how those people come in too. And there's only so much some of us can do for ourselves, and I don't honestly think I'd be in this position maybe at this time if I hadn't removed myself from a certain job in the past. With this, even though it is a hardship, an inconvenience, something I didn't want initially, and some days I do have my times where I'm a little scared or nervous, you know, but I feel like this particular situation and season is allowing me to take even a bigger leap, and this gap and change is going to elevate me just like it did from the last job. I feel like this is really gonna be like another hit on the mold of like it was part of the process, it was needed. Maybe it wouldn't have happened if I would have stayed at the job. God will put me where he wants me when he wants me. That's another thing that I'm telling myself, that I can do all the applying, I can do all the arrangements, recommendations, resumes, whatever. If God doesn't want me to have a job, maybe in a way he wants me to kind of struggle right now, depend on him, that's what he's gonna do. It's not because he wants me to be broke and poor and unhappy, struggling, whatever you want to label that as. It's because even though I can't see it and I don't know it, it's part of the process. Not to be like this, but things happen for a reason. Conclusion, because let me wrap it up. I think in this situation, I've been able to really practice learning, letting go, and moving on. And I feel like this is really why I wanted to put this video out there, for people to be able to understand and relate to my situation, maybe because they're going through it, have been through it, or they're going through something else that they need some of that reassurance with their faith, you know? But also because I feel like this is me getting the closure I needed to just be kind of like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Even more now, but definitely when it first happened, I was angry and I was frustrated that, like, me va a tocar esto de nuevo. Like, that's what's going on right now. That's the card that I got dealt. Eso es lo que me hicieron, like, whatever. But now I'm just kind of like, whatever. Whatever. Like, that's what happened. Shut up and move on. That's what I'm forcing myself to have to practice. Along with remembering redirection, not rejection. I feel like I've received confirmation almost weekly, if not more. And I truly believe that this is part of my testimony of his blessings and the process. I was going to hold off, but I feel like it's going to serve more of, like, not to say the proof is in the pudding, but to kind of just put out there what I believe, and that I can come back to you guys and be like, remember when I said that? So this is part of one of many testimonies and, like, reflections on, like, he did that. So stay tuned. Wait on it. 1 Peter 1:8. Though you have not seen him, you love him, and even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy. That's how I feel right now. I haven't seen my future. I haven't seen what he's going to do. I haven't seen the reason. I haven't seen the full process. I haven't seen the like moment. And that's totally fine. I'm still thankful to him, and I'm just here waiting. That God has turned the page already. That's what's been helping me. Like, I literally have some kind of, like, little sayings that I kind of have to tell myself, because that's what you have to do. What's true right now? What can you do about it right now? What can you change? Nothing? Then you need to be okay with the truth, and that's the truth. That's in the past already. And yes, it's affecting your present, but focus on the present then. Why you keep going into the past? Because yes, it's the reasoning, but you can't do anything about what happened in the past. You can do about what's happening now. So focus on that. He turned the page. Stop going back to that chapter. So don't feel bad if you're struggling through that. I struggle with that. 1 Peter 2:6. And the one who trusts in him will never be put to shame. Period. I'm sorry if this video's kind of been, like, a little all over the place. I tried to stay in order, which is why I, like, had everything typed out. If y'all need even more of a conclusion, I got fired. I'm looking for a job. I'm not depressed, but I'm doing what I can from my side, and I'm hopeful. I have faith, and I'm just waiting on it. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, if you're seeing this. I hope that you're also tuning into my other videos, and then you can follow me on Instagram if you want. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, thank you for watching.